Hi, welcome to the Bible New Year Live Chronological Project podcast. Today is day 5 of week 14, and we continue in the story of Samuel, reading today 1 Samuel chapter 5 to 8, and continuing from the New English Translation. My name is Shane. Let us dive into today's reading. Lord, as we go into your reading today, I pray that you'll continue to open our eyes and our ears to all the things that you have for us to know, for ourselves, to know about you, so that we can share you with others by the things that we say and all the things that we do in our lives, because Jesus Christ is Lord. Amen. 1 Samuel chapter 5. God sends trouble for the Philistines who have the ark. Now the Philistines had captured the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer to Ashdod. The Philistines took the ark of God and brought it into the temple of Dagon, where they positioned it beside Dagon. When the residents of Ashdod got up early the next day, Dagon was lying on the ground before the ark of the Lord. So they took Dagon and set him back in his place. But when they got up early the following day, Dagon was again lying on the ground before the ark of the Lord. The head of Dagon and his 2 hands were sheared off and were lying at the threshold. Only Dagon's body was left intact. For this reason, to this very day, neither Dagon's priest nor anyone else who enters Dagon's temple steps on Dagon's threshold in Ashdod. The Lord attacked the residents of Ashdod severely, bringing devastation on them. He struck the people of both Ashdod and the surrounding area with sores. When the people of Ashdod saw what was happening, they said, "The ark of the God of Israel should not remain with us, for he has attacked both us and our God." So they assembled all the leaders of the Philistines and asked, "What should we do with the ark of the God of Israel?" They replied, "The ark of the God of Israel should be moved to Gath." So they moved the ark of the God of Israel. But after it had been moved, the Lord attacked that city as well, causing a great deal of panic. He struck all the people of that city with sores. So they sent the ark of God to Ekron. But when the ark of God arrived at Ekron, the residents of Ekron cried out, saying, "They have brought the ark of the God of Israel here to kill our people." So they assembled all the leaders of the Philistines and said, "Get the ark of the God of Israel out of here. Let it go back to its own place, so that it won't kill us and our people." The terror of death was throughout the entire city. God was attacking them very severely there. The people who did not die were struck with sores. The city's cry for help went all the way up to heaven. Chapter 6. The Philistines returned the ark. When the ark of the Lord had been in the land of the Philistines for 7 months, the Philistines called the priests and the omen readers, saying, "What should we do with the ark of the Lord? Advise us to how we should send it back to its place." They replied, "If you're going to send the ark of the God of Israel back, don't send it away empty, but be sure to return it with a guilt offering. Then you will be healed, and you will understand why his hand has not been removed from you." They inquired, "What is the guilt offering that we should send to him?" They replied, "The Philistine leaders number 5. So send 5 gold swords and 5 gold mice, for it is the same plague that has afflicted both you and your leaders. You should make images of the swords and images of the mice that are destroying the land. You should honor the God of Israel. Perhaps he will release his grip on you, your gods, and your land. Why harden your hearts like the Egyptians and Pharaoh did? When God treated them harshly, didn't the Egyptians send the Israelites on their way? So now, go and make a new cart. Get 2 cows that have calves that have never had a yoke placed on them. Harness the cows to the cart, and take their calves from them back to their stalls. Then take the ark of the Lord and place it on the cart, and put in a chest beside it the gold objects you are sending to him as a guilt offering. You should then send it on its way, but keep an eye on it. If it should go up by the way of its own border to Beth Shemesh, then he has brought this great calamity on us. But if that is not the case, then we will know that it was not his hand that struck us. Rather, it just happened to us by accident." So the men did as instructed. They took 2 cows that had calves and harnessed the cows to a cart. They also removed their calves to their stalls. They put the ark of the Lord on the cart along with the chest, the gold mice, and the images of the swords. Then the cows went directly on the road to Beth Shemesh. They went along that route, bellowing more and more. They turned neither to the right nor to the left. The leaders of the Pharisees were walking along behind them all the way to the borders of Beth Shemesh. Now the residents of Beth Shemesh were harvesting wheat in the valley. When they looked up and saw the ark, they were pleased at the sight. The ark was coming to the field of Joshua, who was from Beth Shemesh. It paused there near a big stone. Then they cut up the wood of the cart and offered the cows as a burnt offering to the Lord. The Levites took down the ark of the Lord and the chest that was with it, which contained the gold objects. They placed them near the big stone. At that time, the people of Beth Shemesh offered burnt offerings and made a sacrifice to the Lord. The 5 leaders of the Philistines watched what was happening and then returned to Ekron on the same day. These are the gold swords that the Philistines brought as a guilt offering to the Lord, one for each of the following cities: Ashdod, Gaza, Ashkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The gold mice corresponded in number to all the Philistine cities of the 5 leaders, from the fortified cities to hamlet villages to greater Abel. They positioned the ark of the Lord on a rock until this very day in the field of Joshua, who was from Beth Shemesh. But the Lord struck down some of the people of Beth Shemesh because they had looked into the ark of the Lord. He struck down 50,070 of the men. The people grieved because the Lord had struck the people with a hard blow. The residents of Beth Shemesh asked, "Who is able to stand before the Lord, this holy God? To whom will the ark go up from here?" So they sent messengers to the residents of Kiriath Jearim, saying, "The Philistines have returned the ark of the Lord. Come down here and take it back home with you." Chapter 7. Then the people of Kiriath Jearim came and took the ark of the Lord. They brought it to the house of Abinadab, located in the hill. They consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of the Lord. Further conflict with the Philistines. It was quite a long time, some 20 years in all, that the ark stayed at Kiriath Jearim. All the people of Israel longed for the Lord. Samuel said to all the people of Israel, "If you are really turning to the Lord with all your hearts, remove from among you the foreign gods and the images of Ashtaroth. Give your hearts to the Lord and serve only him. Then he will deliver you from the hand of the Philistines." So the Israelites removed the Baals and images of Ashtaroth. They served only the Lord. Then Samuel said, "Gather all Israel to Mizpah, and I will pray to the Lord on your behalf." After they had assembled at Mizpah, they drew water and poured it out before the Lord. They fasted on that day, and they confessed there, "We have sinned against the Lord." So Samuel led the people of Israel at Mizpah. When the Philistines heard that the Israelites had gathered at Mizpah, the leaders of the Philistines went up against Israel. When the Israelites heard about this, they were afraid of the Philistines. The Israelites said to Samuel, "Keep crying out to the Lord our God so that he may save us from the hand of the Philistines." So Samuel took a nursing lamb and offered it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. Samuel cried out to the Lord on Israel's behalf, and the Lord answered him. As Samuel was offering burnt offerings, the Philistines approached to do battle with Israel. But on that day, the Lord thundered loudly against the Philistines. He caused them to panic, and they were defeated by Israel. Then the men of Israel left Mizpah and chased the Philistines, striking them down all the way to an area below Bethkar. Samuel took a stone and placed it between Mizpah and Shen. He named it Ebenezer, saying, "Up to here the Lord has helped us." So the Philistines were defeated. They did not invade Israel again. The hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. The cities that the Philistines had captured from Israel were returned to Israel, from Ekron to Gath. Israel also delivered their territory from the control of the Philistines. There was also peace between Israel and the Amorites. So Samuel led Israel all the days of his life. Year after year, he used to travel the circuit of Bethel, Gilgal, and Mizpah. He used to judge Israel in all these places. Then he would return to Ramah because his home was there. He also judged Israel there and built an altar to the Lord there. Chapter 8. Israel seeks a king. In his old age, Samuel appointed his sons as judges over Israel. The name of his firstborn son was Joel, and the name of his second son was Abijah. They were judges in Beersheba, but his sons did not follow his ways. Instead, they made money dishonestly, accepted bribes, and perverted justice. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and approached Samuel at Ramah. They said to him, "Look, you are old and your sons don't follow your ways. So now appoint over us a king to lead us, just like all the other nations have." But this request displeased Samuel, for they said, "Give us a king to lead us." So Samuel prayed to the Lord. The Lord said to Samuel, "Do everything the people request of you, for it is not you that they are rejecting, but it is me that they have rejected as their king, just as they have done from the day that I brought them up from Egypt until this very day. They have rejected me and have served other gods. This is what they are also doing to you. So now, do as they say, but you must warn them and make them aware of the policies of the king who will rule over them." So Samuel spoke all the Lord's words to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "Here are the policies of the king who will rule over you. He will conscript your sons and put them in his chariot forces and in his cavalry. They will run in front of his chariot. He will appoint for himself leaders of thousands and leaders of fifties, as well as those who plow his ground, reap his harvest, and make his weapons of war and his chariot equipment. He will take your daughters to be ointment makers, cooks, and bakers. He will take your best fields, vineyards, and olive groves, and give them to his own servants. He'll demand a tenth of your seed and of the produce of your vineyards and give it to his administrators and his servants. He will take your male and female servants, as well as your best cattle and your donkeys, and assign them for his own use. He'll demand a tenth of your flocks, and you yourselves will be his servants. In that day you will cry out because of your king, whom you have chosen for yourself. But the Lord won't answer you in that day. But the people refused to heed Samuel's warning. Instead, they said, "No, there will be a king over us. We will be like all the other nations. Our king will judge us and lead us and fight our battles." So Samuel listened to everything the people said and then reported it to the Lord. The Lord said to Samuel, "Do as they say and install a king over them." Then Samuel said to the men of Israel, "Each of you go back to his own city." I was just reading a book yesterday about the sovereignty of God. And interestingly, one of the points that was made is that God is sovereign over even the animals. And they made reference to this story. So I find it interesting that we're reading this story today. Because if God is really in control of everything, if God is really the creator of everything, if God is really sovereign over all the things that are created, then even the animals will listen and obey him, just like we see happening in this story where the cows that transported the ark from the Philistine land back to Israel, as we're told in the passage, went straight to Beth Shemesh. They didn't turn right or left. They went exactly where God directed them to go. We also see God's sovereignty over the Philistine god Dagon, where Dagon is punished in his own temple. The Philistines wake up and find him face down before the ark, as if it is worshipping the ark or worshipping at the feet of the true God. And then the next morning, they find it down again, this time with its members severed, including its head. I'm curious to know what happened during the night. But either way, the whole point is that God is the God of even the other gods, or however you want to phrase that. And then we see the punishment of God on the people as they become sick and have tumors, or as this version that we read today puts it, sores. And anywhere that they take the ark, the people undergo this punishment of the plague. I must commend the Philistines, though, looking back at what happened with Egypt, and instead of being hardened like Pharaoh, they decide to find a way to release themselves from the punishment. And this is what leads them to send the ark back on the cows back to its country. And it does so. And then they make an interesting statement. They say, if the ark goes back to where it comes from, then we know it is the hand of the God Most High. And if it doesn't, then it would just happen by chance. So it does. And we don't hear much about them turning to God They still fight against God's people throughout the rest of their history in the Bible. However, whether they turn to God or not, one thing I believe is unmistakably made known by the passage is that God is God, and they knew or saw the results that prove that God is God, which I believe is the main thing that God wants the people of earth to know, that He is God. Interestingly, by the end of our reading today, we see where Israel almost makes a similar decision to the Philistines, where instead of wanting God to be their king, they ask for a human king. They want to serve a king like the rest of the nations around them, which is interesting and sad. But I do think it's a part of our human condition and human problem. May the Lord help us with that. I do believe that God wants more than for us to know that He is God, that He wants us also to submit to Him as God. And maybe looking at this story, we can surmise that there are some people that will come to know that He's God but not submit to Him. My prayer is that those of us who come to the knowledge of God will not be unsubmissive to Him, but will submit our lives to Him so that He can be glorified through us in all that we do. Remember to join us live on Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Daylight Saving Time on Zoom, where we go back over the things that we've read during the week. The details to join that meeting are in the description below or on our website at Biayl.Project.com. We'll press pause on our story here for now and we'll return tomorrow by God's grace. Until then, happy reading and blessings on you.